Sun, wind, rain, snow. We are surrounded by the ceaseless energy of nature. These natural energy sources are called renewable because, unlike fossil fuels, they cannot be used up. They are renewed every minute of every day by nature without help from man. In this century, man's energy needs have increased to the point we have threatened to exhaust such stored fuels as oil and coal. The result has been a spiraling inflation in the cost of energy. In the past 30 years, many efforts have been made to harness the renewable energy sources: solar power, heat pumps, wind and tide generators. Until recently, these efforts have only been partly successful. Solar power only works when the sun is shining. Wind power only works when the wind is blowing. All these single energy sources are limited to particularly favorable climates. In addition, the new technologies have been experimental, not always reliable, and worst of all, too expensive for the ordinary home. But what if we could draw energy from all these natural power sources at once? And what if we could turn this energy into heat, using a dependable technology that is available anywhere in the country? And best of all, what if we could make this revolutionary device available to the customer without costing him one additional cent out of pocket? Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? Well, prepare to be surprised, because this tape will show you exactly how we can make it happen. We call it the alternative. We all know the refrigerator is the most dependable appliance in your home. It runs for years without attention. The alternative is a kind of refrigerator in reverse. If you'll put your hand near the coils of your refrigerator, you'll find a large amount of heat being given off. This is the kind of heat the alternative uses. Here's how it works. Because of its low boiling point, 20 below zero, the liquid freon in the collector has been turned to freon steam. There's a simple physical principle that gas under pressure becomes very hot, so our next step is to pressurize the freon in a gas pump. The pressurized gas comes out of the pump at 180 degrees, much hotter than you could stand to touch. The hot gas is passed through a heat exchanger, and the heat is transferred to water. The water comes out of the heat exchanger at 138 degrees, still hotter than the water in a normal hot water heater. Let's look at the system in detail. The technology is simple and dependable. The completed unit requires very little space and can be installed in your home in a few days without major alterations or inconvenience. The electrical components of the system are contained in one small tray. Here the elements are assembled and wired. The piping and conduits for both liquid and gas are constructed with the long-proven techniques of refrigeration installation. The entire system is put under high pressure and tested for leaks. For absolute security, the system is tested both during assembly and when the unit is completely mounted in its case. The alternative is finished and ready to be delivered for installation.
These panels, believe it or not, can take heat out of sun, wind, rain, snow, sleet, and hail 24 hours a day or night. They also can provide 100% of the heat for your house, all your domestic hot water, at a tremendous amount of savings. You know, as incredible as it sounds, these panels really will even work at sub-zero temperatures. I'd like to show you a little demonstration of that. As you can tell, it's cold in this refrigerator. Right inside here, we got our evaporator collector sitting here in a little array. We got them all equally spaced. And if you notice, it's 10 degrees below zero inside here. This over here is the processor. This is the business end of the proposition. What we're doing here is we're taking the freon, running it into the freezer, pulling the heat back out of the freezer, running it in here, and making hot water. We're delivering the hot water over here to a little crock pot. All the hot water in this crock pot is actually being made hot by all the heat we're pulling out of that freezer in dead airspace. You'll notice we got some awful hot water. It's 130 degrees. That's hot. You know, a lot of people think that the alternative is a regular heat pump or another version of a heat pump. I've even heard it referred to as a superheat pump. Well, it isn't. As a matter of fact, the major difference between the heat pump and the alternative, our technology, is this collector area right here, our evaporator. You notice it's very thin, but we're taking Freon and circulating it through this evaporator, and the surface of this evaporator has a direct effect on the Freon inside. I'll show you why I say that in a second. Number one, in a heat pump, the ambient temperature, surrounding air temperature, is all important. Whatever the air temperature is, that's going to determine what it does. In this case, what happens to this panel, this collector, is what's going to determine what happens to the Freon inside. Give you a point in fact. If I had snow packed on top of this panel a foot and a half deep, the temperature of snow is around 30 degrees, above zero. The Freon that we put in will take heat out of anything warmer than 20 degrees below zero, 50 degrees of heat exchange. So if the outside temperature was 0 degrees, that wouldn't have much effect on something that has 50-degree effect on the Freon at that point in time. Another point would be if I had the sun shining directly on this panel, the panel can get as hot as 105 degrees. It's solid aluminum and a direct line with the sun. Now, let's say it was a winter day and it's 50 degrees outside. What difference would that make if the sun was shining directly on the panel and I had something 105 that I was sending Freon through? As the wind will take that force of nature as well, whips across the top of this massive surface area, 8 by 3, top and bottom, 10 different panels, you can see that the friction of the wind will not only heat up the surface area and affect the Freon gas going inside, but also the wind will cause a heat exchange to happen more rapidly.
The alternative works automatically, producing heat on demand and shutting off when none is needed. It isn't even necessary to remove your present heating system. In fact, it's to your advantage to leave it exactly as it is. The alternative is designed to work with your present system. It will heat your house as well as providing hot water. And every minute the alternative operates, you're saving expensive fossil fuels like oil and gas. In addition, we interface the alternative with your system in such a way that the alternative operates only when it can save you money. And if it isn't saving you money, you're paying nothing.
Last year we installed a remarkable heating device on hundreds of homes. This year we intend to install thousands more. The interesting and unique thing about the process was that our system was going on the homes of the average American. Middle-income America, possibly families just like your very own. The way we made that happen was through our own finance company called Conserve Financial Services. At Conserve Financial Services, we operate considerably different than any other finance company because what we've done through a very unique proposal is we have made it possible for you to have a piece of equipment installed on your home that will save you a lot of money, and all you'll be required to do is give us the money that the system actually saves until it's paid for. The offer is risk-free. Now, I didn't say free, I said risk-free, and there's a difference between those two concepts. In our offer, what we will do is we will provide the equipment to your home at no charge or cost to you whatsoever. You don't give us 1 cent of your money. We will fully install the equipment and have it up and operational, and even at that point in time, you will not have given us 1 cent of your own money. After it is running, we will then require that you will give us, Conserve Financial Services, all the money that the system actually is proven to save you until such time as it has paid for itself. That usually requires about 7 to 8 years. Now, the interesting thing about that is the system is designed to last for 20 or 30 years, so once it's completely paid for, you get to keep all of the savings, send your children through 4 years of college education or whatever you want to with the money. I'm sure you can find a better place for your family to put the money than where it's been going so far. You might say your energy supplier is buying you this energy conservation.
Well, one of the things I do recall is before we had the system, we would have people over, and I wasn't going to turn the heat on above 62 because we couldn't pay the bill. And so one of the things that I remember saying to the man when he came out and talked to us about the system, I said, can I have my heat on at 70 all the time? And he said, oh, yes. And I don't hesitate to turn my system up to 68 or 70, and I don't care if the system's running for how long, I'm going to be warm. And it does work, and the bill is lower.